Hello, everybody, and man, welcome into another edition of the Voice of College Football here at the Texas channel on the Voice of College Football. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps out what we're trying to build here. Again, hit that like button, subscribe down below. Jeez, it's tough. It's a tough Monday out here, guys. There's the ticker. I really appreciate you guys being here again. It always helps out, always helps grow the channel. We had our most viewed live stream last week. Hopefully, we can keep that going moving forward. I really appreciate it, guys. And we are going to jump into it. Texas is 5-0. It was also the first time, I didn't know this, Steve Sarkisian brought it up in his press conference, that Texas has won the game before they go into their bye week. So first time that has happened, first time they've gone into a bye week undefeated. So fantastic job by the staff, fantastic job by these players. Lot to go and learn from during this bye week. Got to get healthy. Got to learn from the mistakes we made in the Mississippi State game, because the week portion of the schedule is over, guys. We come right out of this bye week. We're running into Red River. We're running into Texas versus Georgia. It's going to get harder, and we'll get into that. Texas wins that game 35-13. Before we do that, guys, please do me a favor. If you're going to go to Amazon and buy stuff just like I do, use the Amazon link in the description. It's easy. You just copy, or you don't even have to copy. You click on it. You go in there. Same purchasing as every other time you use it. The only difference is it puts a little bit of change into Mark's pocket. If you don't like to watch the show and you'd rather listen to it, go to your favorite audio platform, type in the Voice of College Football. Texas channel will pop up. Like and subscribe. You can listen to this voice. You don't have to watch anymore. You can just listen to my voice if you like the voice over the face. That is why we're called the Voice of College Football, not the face of college football. So go over there and do that. And then remember, Mark has a wonderful show every morning Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Go over there, like and subscribe over there as well. It really helps out what Mark's trying to build. So go over and do that. And guys, we have all of your Voice of College Football needs. If you need Michigan, we got you. We need Iowa, we got you. If you need USC, we got you. You got Alabama now. You have a lot of other teams. I think we're up to like 30-something teams. So please go over there and check out all the shows, all the live shows. They do a phenomenal job. We're trying to grow, guys, here, because if we do grow, I kind of want to start a call-in show next week. You guys can voice your opinions, your thoughts. I know a lot of you were pissed off at me for not pumping sunshine after the Mississippi State game, and we will jump into that. So Mississippi State recap. Texas wins this game 35-13. Overall, it was their sloppiest game of the year. Definitely some concerns popped up and became more evident because we took a step up in competition, other than obviously the Michigan game. And it's something we're going to have to work on going forward. We'll get into that. I actually have stats to back it up. I was right on one thing for sure. I was wrong on the other, and we'll get into that. But so far, obviously, Texas 5-0. Not a lot to be angry about, guys. Texas, again, 5-0, beats Mississippi State 35-13. Let's jump into some of the good that I saw. Arch Manning, phenomenal. His best game by far as a college player. 26 of 31, 324 yards and 2 touchdowns. And you saw the jump from his first start versus Louisiana Monroe to his second start with Mississippi State. He was more decisive of where he wanted to go with the football. His deep ball accuracy was better. And then when the deep ball wasn't there, he didn't force it. And the Louisiana Monroe game, guys, to me, he refused to check down. His check down was the deep ball. He decided, you know what, if it's not there, I'm going to trust my guy to go out and make a play. And that's kind of a freshman or young guy thing to do. And you saw him do that in the Louisiana Monroe game. You did not see that this game. If the deep ball was there, he took it. If it wasn't, he hit the intermediate and short passes. So I was confident in that. I like to see that. You saw his athleticism with getting out of the pocket again, making that beautiful run down the sideline, almost scored a touchdown. I honestly think for the effort, they should have given it to him. And I think Mississippi State kind of got tricked there, because if you look, a lot of their players slowed up and thought, oh, this guy's going to slide. And he didn't slide. He kind of gave him the okey doke, ran down the sideline, almost scored. I thought he scored on his first sneak. Apparently he didn't. And Sark also talked about that. And I think it's smart. I've never heard about this, but it makes sense and it's very smart. Stay down. Just lay there. And Arch got up too quickly, and then the referee couldn't come in and spot the ball and say, hey, that's a touchdown, actually. And they were like, okay, well, he got up. We don't know where it was. Got to go again. And then the next time he scored, it was pretty obvious he scored on that one. And so 2 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground. And Arch Manning was actually the highest Pro Football Focus graded quarterback on the week. 94.2. That's a hell of a grade there for Pro Football Focus, ahead of Jalen Milroe, who had himself a game too. he could have been a Texas quarterback, which is crazy to say as well. Trey Wisner had his best game this year, 13 carries for 88 yards, 6.8 yards per carry. And I think he opened up a can of controversy here because, let's be honest here, Jaden Blue had a terrible game. He had a terrible game. He only had 6 carries for 36 yards. He had 2 fumbles, both of them lost, and he really didn't see any time after that. And it's going to be interesting how they go forward with this running back room. Obviously, you lose Cedric Baxter. You have Jarrett Gibson, the freshman, who I don't think played that much because he had an ankle injury coming into the week. So I'm not surprised by that. Trey Wisner was also coming back from an injury, played pretty well. Jaden Blue did not. We still don't know who the number 1 running back on the team is, and that's my biggest concern going forward, and we'll jump into that later in the show as well. And it kind of proves the point of we need someone to step up in this room and play better than they have. We only have one guy averaging 5 yards per carry right now, and that's Trey Wisner. Jaden Blue is not doing that. And guys, the competition is only going to get better. Like I said, is there anyone left on the schedule that if that's going to be worse than the teams we've previously played other than Michigan? No. Vanderbilt's better than everyone we've played other than Michigan. Florida's better than everyone we played other than Michigan. They're bad. Kentucky's definitely better than everyone we played, and they might even be better than Michigan. Oklahoma's better than anyone we played at the Michigan. Georgia, obviously. I mean, it's going to be harder, and we're going to have to find that number 1 guy. Right now, we don't have that number 1 guy at the running back position. We're going to have to figure that out. I will say it was nice to see DeAndre Moore get really involved in this offense. He had been kind of quiet up until this point. He had a catcher here and there, but 4 catches for him for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. I really like when this guy gets involved because he brings a physicality and toughness in the blocking game, and I like to see him get rewarded through the air. He's basically a clone of Jordan Whittington, and that's kind of who he copies his game off of. He's talked about that. I want to be physical. I want to bring the attack to the other team. He's got sure hands. I don't think he's dropped a pass so far this year. He's been really good for us. I've been thoroughly impressed. He's done really well in the slot, and I think you're going to continue to see him make plays. 2 touchdowns from him, so glad for him. And then Isaiah Bond, 5 receptions for 74 yards, 14.8 yards per catch. He didn't have a touchdown this week. Or did he? Didn't he have a rushing touchdown? I believe he did. I don't remember. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't write that down. But it's so fun to watch him run. I don't know if he's faster than Xavier Worthy. He might be at the combine. That's going to be very interesting to see. But he has a different stride than Xavier Worthy. To me, Xavier Worthy, you could tell he had to put some effort into running. Isaiah Bond just glides. It's so fun to watch him run. He truly is like a track star, just effortless, and a really good track star, honestly. Matthew Golden, 5 receptions, 52 yards. As I said, going into the season, this guy's just Mr. Reliable. He does everything you need him to. He's not great at anything, but he's good at everything. He's a good route runner, good hands, good blocker. He's healthy. He's just a good football player, and I'm really excited that he's on our team. Defensively, David Ben had 8 tackles, Jalen Gilbo had 8 tackles, and Colin Simmons, 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 sacks, 6 sacks and 9 tackles for loss for the defense in total. That's a really good day at the office for the defense at getting to the quarterback. We kind of struggle up until the last couple of games of getting after the quarterback. These guys are finally getting into that midseason form as we reach midseason. So makes sense. Colin Simmons, like I said a couple weeks ago, has to get more playing time, and you've seen that. This team has gotten he's gotten a lot more playing time, and it's paid off. The guy has 4 sacks. I think there's a real chance he ends up with 10 sacks, and it's been a very long time since a Texas Longhorn in the freshman season had 10 sacks. The get off the ball, the bend off the edge. He does need to work on some moves, guys, because you have to have a counter. Right now, it's a lot of speed rush. There's very little bull rush there. That's one thing he should work on, and he will work on. He's got 2 more years at the 40 acres to work on it. I would also like to see a spin move at some point. I think that would really help him out. His hand placement's pretty good. It's not great yet. It's not elite, but he's there athletically and physically. He's so gifted, guys. It's like Dylan Stewart at South Carolina. Those guys don't really know what they're doing, but they're so damn good. It's like, hey, go get the football. And they just go get the football. It's kind of like Anthony Hill was last year. They're just athletic freaks who are still kind of learning the game. And that will come slowly and steadily for Colin Simmons. He's a stud. It's been really fun to watch him. And it was pretty obvious what Mississippi State wanted to do in this game. We kind of talked about it pregame. Does Mississippi State actually want to play football and compete in this game? Or do they want to play keep away and just tuck their tail in and go home with little to no injuries? That's what they did. They decided to play keep away. It was basically 35 minutes time of possession to 25 minutes for Texas. And Jeff Lebby decided, we'll go tempo on certain situations on 3rd and short and 4th and short to catch him off guard so we can get a quick first down. But other than that, he did not use tempo. I actually thought, honestly, you weren't going to win this game, so it was kind of a good game plan and really smart for Jeff Lebby. I've been harsh on him. I don't think he's a very good coach or an offensive mind, but I was very impressed. I thought that was a very smart thing to do, like you saw in the opening possession. You saw 4th down, their side of the field. Let's hurry up to the line, call a quick play, and it caught us off guard kind of, and they got the first down, were able to keep the ball, and they just wanted to play keep away in this game. And it was smart because I think if Texas got the normal amount of possessions that they usually do, which is like 12 to 14 a game, Texas probably would have put up 50-plus points. Are there things to work on? Absolutely, and we'll get into that in a second. But overall, my only concerns going forward are the running game for Texas and stopping the run for Texas. Those are my 2 biggest concerns. It's definitely what we need to work on, and we will talk about that, especially the running game. It's actually my number 1 concern now after taking some look at the stats. Again, guys, I'm comparing this to a national championship team. People wanted to come at me in the comments for the post-game show and said, you're being emotional, da-da-da-da-da. My points have not changed. Has my emotion level simmered down? Of course it has. That was right after the game. I'm going to be at my most emotional state. But the message still hasn't changed. And I think, no offense, some of you guys need to realize, I'm not going to pump sunshine here. If you want that, you can go somewhere else to find it. Do I like having you guys here to interact? Absolutely do. I like and subscribe. But I'm here to give you facts and reality. And right now, we do not run the ball well enough to win a national championship. We actually do stop it well enough. We will get into that. But guys, I'm just saying, don't pay attention to my emotions. Pay attention to my message, because my message is still the same, and it was a correct message, and I'm going to prove that to you. Now, I need to start using this because I pay for it. Pro Football Focus grades, the top 10 highest pay or graded players for Texas. Trey Weiser at number 10. I think that's just another feather in the cap of what I said afterwards in the show. I think Texas should look into giving him more carries. I think, honestly, he should get the majority of the carries. Right now, guys, in Jaden Blue's career, he fumbles every 38 snaps. That means starting running back usually in college football gets between 200 to 250 carries, or 200 to 250 touches at least. That means he would fumble 7 times. That is unacceptable to fumble 7 times in a season. And obviously with the extended season, it might be about 8. So 8 times in a season, that's once every other game. That's unacceptable. It cannot happen. And I don't see it getting that much better. So it's just like interceptions for a quarterback. Do I think get a little bit better with some guys? Yes. With most guys, it just doesn't. So unless Jaden Blue miraculously overnight gets better at handling the football while he has it, he's probably going to have fumbling issues, and it's Sark's job to keep him out of those situations. So you might have to start limiting touches. You might have to throw it to him more than you run with him. I think he's honestly more of a Donovan Edwards than he is a Blake Corum, which makes sense. And I think you're going to have to use him in that way. Number 9, DeAndre Moore. Again, fantastic game for him, 73.3 grade. It's one of his highest, if not the highest of the season. Isaiah Bond at the wide receiver position had a 74. Jalen Gilbo, 73.3. Brother, you have been fantastic this year. You have stayed healthy. When Mark asked me who I thought was going to be 1 or 2 players that would step up for Texas and be household names, I said Jalen Gilbo and Gunnar Helm at the beginning of the season. I'd say I'm 2 for 2. Jalen Gilbo has been phenomenal. Gunnar Helm, when Quinn Ewers was healthy, was phenomenal. Arch and him just don't have the same connection. When Quinn comes back, Gunnar Helm's numbers will keep on coming in. Number 6, and it stood out when I watched it the second time, Jermaine Lolay had his best game by far as a Texas Longhorn. He looked healthy. He looked explosive. He was shedding blocks rather easily. It was really exciting to see him play good football. He had a 74.4 grade. Number 5 was Andrew Makuba, 81.5, stud. Stud. He's always around the football. He's always making plays around the football. He's done a phenomenal job here at Texas. I'm really happy to have Andrew Makuba in the secondary. Number 4 is Kelvin Banks, an 81.7 grade for him. Was our best offensive lineman. That was pretty obvious to see. He made no mistakes, didn't have any penalties called on him, whereas everyone else on the offensive line did. Makes sense. I'm trying to think the last time he had a bad game. I was thinking about that today. I think the last time Kelvin Banks just had an straight up awful game was Oklahoma State his freshman year. I can't really think of any other games that stand out to mind. That honestly might be his only truly bad game. And by the way, the whole offensive line was bad that day, but he was particularly bad 2 years ago. Number 3 is Colin Simmons, 85.6. He was the highest rated linebacker in the SEC, linebacker edge. I forget what they had him listed as. Stud. He's what Anthony Hill was last year for us. He's been phenomenal. I think he's going to end up with at least 8 sacks. And we haven't had a guy with 8 sacks around here in a long time. Joseph Osai didn't even have 8 sacks, guys. So that gives you a little bit perspective there. Number 3. That was number 3. Number 2, Vernon Broughton. Another great game for him. He has stepped up. He has elevated his draft stock. Actually gotten draft stock now, because before the season, I think Vernon Broughton was probably a 7th-round pick or undrafted guy. I think he's a 5th-round pick now. I think that's where he's probably going to end up going, which is phenomenal for you, brother. Congratulations on the marriage, by the way. I forgot to say that a long time ago. He's been married for about 3 or 4 months now, so congratulations on that. And then also Arch Manning, 94.2 grade, highest rated quarterback in the country. Phenomenal game. This is the game to me. If you could promise me, obviously, if you could promise me this type of game from Arch going forward, fine. He's better than Quinn. But the issue is I don't see that happening. What you're going to see is just what you saw with when Quinn was coming up. Inconsistent play from week to week. I know what Quinn is. Quinn is a B-plus guy. I think Arch has a higher ceiling, for sure. I've said that. I said he was a top 15 quarterback a month ago in college football. But he's not the starter. He shouldn't be the starter. I will say he does provide something in the running game, and that is our weakness. So that would be your one argument if you did have it, is his athleticism and run game. But let's be honest here, Sark doesn't want to do that anyway, so it really doesn't work out in this type of offense. So that was the Mississippi State recap. I will jump into your comments, questions, and concerns, and then we will talk about what I was talking about, whether this team in those certain areas can compete for a national championship. I went back and looked at the last 10 national champions, so we'll talk about that. Again, this is the 23rd edition of Texas Longhorns Live. I really appreciate it. When is the morning show in Connecticut? Connecticut is it's East Coast time, right? So it's 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. Burt Orange. Or is it 9? Wait, am I dumb? Is CT not Connecticut? The morning show is now Monday through Wednesday. Okay, so they changed it from Monday through Friday to Monday through Wednesday for Mark. I still think it's 10 a.m., guys. I don't think that changes for Connecticut. I'm bad with times. I'm not bad with times. I don't know how to say that. Hey, everyone. Hey, John, thanks for being here. Meetings, making it happen as always. Yeah, I get that. Let's see what we got here. What's up, Jackson? I really appreciate you guys being here. Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps out what we're trying to build here. Okay, so the biggest questions that I have. Does Texas run the ball well enough to win a natty? I went and looked back at the 10 last national championships. I looked at how many yards per carry they averaged as a team. I looked at their highest rusher and how many yards per carry they averaged. And then I looked at Texas. So, guys, we'll go back starting at the beginning at the college football playoff era. 2014 Ohio State, as that team averaged 5.7 yards per carry. If you will notice on some of these, they're going to be a little bit higher. It's because a lot of them had running quarterbacks. That obviously helps out a lot. And that's the feather in the tip of, hey, I want Arch Manning to start. Honestly, that's the only feather in the cap if I want Arch Manning to start. Ezekiel Elliott himself averaged 7.9 yards per carry and 18 touchdowns. So he was phenomenal that year, and that was in 15 games. 2015, the Heisman Trophy winner, Derrick Henry, averaged 5.6 yards per carry. Alabama only averaged 4.7, which I was surprised by. 2016, Clemson, this is the least, by the way, averaged 4.3 yards per carry as a team. Wayne Gallman averaged 4.9 yards per carry. Both of those are the least of national championship winning teams as a team and as the lead rusher. 2017, Alabama averaged 5.7 yards per carry. Damian Harris averaged 7.4 yards per carry, and they had Jalen Hurts on that team, who actually had the most carries on that team. I was surprised by that, but Damian Harris did lead yards-wise, and that's what I'm going with. I'm going with the yardage. When I break down the highest rusher. Clemson averaged 6.6 yards per carry in 2018. Travis Etienne averaged 8.1 yards per carry in 2019. And I was kind of surprised by this. I thought this team, being with Joe Burrow and the guys at wide receiver, would have the least amount of rushing yards per carry. They did not. They averaged 4.9, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire was phenomenal, 6.6 yards per carry. 2020, Bama, 5 yards per carry. Najee Harris averaged 5.8. And then the next three are very surprising to me. When I looked at this, Georgia, only averaged 5.3 yards per carry in 2021. Zamir White was the leading rusher with 856 yards at 5.4 yards per carry. But then they also had James Cook, who had 728 yards at 6.4 yards per carry. I included both of them because you had two guys over 700 yards. That's noteworthy to me. And then the next team had three guys over 500 yards. 2022, Georgia averaged 5.5 yards per carry. Kenny McIntosh. I don't know if anyone could have named that. Was the leading rusher for Georgia in 2022 with 829 yards. He averaged 5.5 yards per carry, so right on the number as a team. DeJuan Edwards had 769 yards, 5.5 yards per carry. And Kendall Milton had 592 yards, 7 yards per carry. Honestly, he was probably the best running back on the team. Obviously, him being the only one that's still in the NFL, I believe. Michigan, again, surprising, 4.5 yards per carry. But again, they stuck to the run. That was their identity. They were not going to run away from it. Pun intended, I guess. Blake Corum, 4.8 yards per carry, so he's a little bit better than the average. So then I went in, saw what Texas was doing. And this is why it is a concern for me, guys. I knew it's worse than I thought. It really is. So the average for a national championship team is 5.22 yards per carry. The highest running back average, so your leading rusher, I should say that, the leading rusher on every team averaged 6.2 yards per carry. Texas right now averages 5 yards per carry, which isn't that bad as a team compared to 5.22, but that's still 0.2 of a yard behind. And also, you guys got to realize Arch Manning contributes to that. Sacks are taken away. So Quinn Ewers is going to take away from that when he comes back in. So that's only going to get worse as a team, most likely, unless someone in the running back room really picks up the slack. But this is the bad thing. The leading rusher right now is Jaden Blue. He averages 4.7 yards per carry. Guys, that is 1.5 yards worse than every leading rusher on average of the last 10 national championships team. 1.5 yards worse. That is not good enough. Someone is going to have to step up. Even if you went with Trey Wisner, let's hypothetically say he leads the team in rushing yards at the end of the year. That is 5 yards per carry that he is averaging. And that was the worst part of our schedule. That's what I'm saying. We've done this first, the worst part of our schedule. It's only going to get harder. And if he averages 5, that's still 1.2 yards less than the average. That's not good enough. This has to get better, whether it be the push from the offensive line, someone steps up in the running back room, or I said this going into the season. I knew Quinn was going to have to put on his cape and have like a Mac Jones year, a Joe Burrow year, or even 2016 Clemson, a Deshaun Watson year. Do I think Quinn is capable of that? Absolutely, I do. But I'd rather it not be on his shoulders because, again, we're relying on a guy with a health problem too. So there's so many questions there, guys. We just need to get better in the running game. Either Sark has to dial it up a little better. We need more push, or someone else has to step up. Whatever it is, it has to get better. It just does. Like I said, the average on a national championship team is 5.22. The highest leading rusher on a national championship team is 6.2 yards per carry. Right now, we're at 5 as a team, which I think is good enough. If that stays, that is good enough. But the problem, again, Arch isn't going to be there and the sack numbers will count against that with Quinn Ewers, just as they did for everyone else on this list. And then Jaden Blue's only at 4.7 yards per carry. That's 1.5 yards difference between the average of every other team in the national championship, or that won a national championship. So it's not good enough right now, guys. It just isn't. And I'm sorry if that hurts your opinion or hurts your feelings or whatever, because for whatever reason, I just have to be positive about everything. I'm not going to do that. My goal for this team, because I've seen the landscape of college football and I've seen the talent on this team, is a national championship. And this has to get better. This is the weakness of the football team. We'll get into, is Texas good enough to stop the run to win a national championship? Guess what? That actually is. I was wrong on that. That is in the positive. We'll get into that after this, but I'm going to jump into your comments real quick. Run blocking has been mediocre since the staff took over. Might take the last few Herman offensive line leaving for that to turn around. I don't think Flood can fix what Hand taught them. The problem is, I'm trying to think. So Kelvin Banks isn't Tom Herman. Jake Majors is. I'm going to be honest. Hayden Connor? I think he is. Right guard isn't. Right tackle isn't. So 3 out of 5 aren't Herb Hand offensive linemen. But I see the point. Double D, I've liked when Wisner has carried. Yes, he runs with the most ferocity and heart of anyone on this team. And honestly, at this point, That's kind of what I want. For whatever reason, to me, Jaden Blue looks a lot slower than he did last year. I don't know if he put on the weight. Well, I know he put on weight. Is that because he put on the weight? Is he hiding an injury? I do not know. But right now, he's killing his draft stock. Like going into the year, I thought second round pick. Right now, I'm thinking fourth or fifth round. He's just not a good running back. He's more of an offensive weapon. But the problem is he fumbles too often. So teams do not like that. Again, the guy that came to my mind who I saw fumble a lot in college in the NFL was Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson is a top 7 running back of all time, guys. He can get away with that. Jaden Blue isn't a top 7 running back of all time. Fumbling every 38 touches is god-awful. It's terrible. In the NFL, those guys get about 400 touches as a starting running back. That means you're fumbling like 12 times a year. That is atrocious. This I completely agree with. Great comment here, Dan, and I completely agree with this. Bijan and Jonathan covered up a lack of the running lanes developed by the O-line. Completely agree with that. So for Bijan and Jonathan Brooks, they both had great vision, and they were both patient enough to wait, and then if there was a hole, they were able to hit it. Right now, we're not seeing that. I don't see the patience with any of these running backs, honestly. They're kind of just whole go, whereas like, oh, let's see the develop, and then go. That's why I compared Jonathan Brooks to Le'Veon Bell, because he would dance behind the line of scrimmage and then find the hole. And then Roschon Johnson was just big enough and strong enough. He's like, screw it, I can make my own hole. We don't have either of those guys right now. We're kind of caught in the middle, and that's what I'm saying. We have like 3 number 2 backs right now. We do not have a number 1 back. I was right when I said Jonathan Brooks was spectacular and one of the best backs in the country before last season going into the season. And I was dead wrong on saying that Cedric Baxter shouldn't have been the starter over Jaden Blue. We are missing Cedric Baxter dearly or sorely in this offense. Like, it's bad, guys. It just is not good right now. And I was wrong. I thought we'd be better in running the football than we are. And I didn't think these injuries would matter as much, but they do matter. They do matter right now. One way I'll celebrate my birth week is I'm going to make sure I pre-ordered the Disputed National Championship College Football's Historical. Yes, right there. Mark just came out with a book, so please go over there and look at that. But does Texas have an elite defense? I'm not sure. That is also a great question, Adam, because when you look at some of these teams on here, we'll go through them. So this first team, I don't know. Did Ohio State have an elite defense? They had elite players, but throughout the whole year, I don't think they were elite. 2015 Alabama, I would say they were elite. 2016 Clemson wasn't really that elite. 2017 Bama, I would say was elite. 2018 Clemson, I would say it was elite. I thought that defense was very good. 2019 LSU was not elite. Alabama 2020 was not elite. 2021 Georgia was. 2022 Georgia was. 2023 Michigan was. So yes, that's another thing too. There's ways you can cover up a bad running game, and that's with a good quarterback and a really good defense. Right now, we definitely have the quarterback. My concern would be the defense. I do not know. Hopefully you guys can still hear me because I know my Wi-Fi is acting like crap for whatever reason. It always does it at night too. I don't know why that is, but I agree with that, Adam, definitely for sure. But yeah, again, when is the morning show in Connecticut? Yeah, it's 10 a.m. Eastern time. That's it's Eastern time zone. Same as me. Yeah, I mean, that was a great point by you, Adam, because I do not know. I just can't answer that right now because we have yet to face – we're not going to face an elite offense till – I don't even know if Georgia's got an elite offense, but that is the first elite offense we will play. And I honestly don't know if they'll be able to test this because they don't have the weapons. But I will say this, Adam. I don't know if we need an elite defense this year because I think there's very few elite offenses. The only ones that come to mind are Ohio State, Alabama, and Tennessee. Every other team, to me, they're going to rank as an elite offense because offense, to me, is down this year. And quarterback play is down, but they're not truly an elite offense. And we have one as well. I think there's 5 elite offenses in college football. Now, the death penalty for Texas would be having to face all 3 of those on the way to the national championship. That actually, to me, if we face Alabama, Tennessee, and Ohio State in any order going to the playoff or going to the national championship, we are not winning the national championship. Are not going to. And by the way, if anyone has to, I don't think they're going to be able to do that. It's going to be very interesting if that is a road someone has to go down and face every elite offense possible. Now, do I think we could win 2 of those games? Yes, but having to face 3 week in and week out is going to kill you. On their schedule, Georgia is the only one I can even think of. Like A&M doesn't have an elite offense. Oklahoma doesn't have an elite offense. Kentucky definitely doesn't have an elite offense. Vanderbilt doesn't have an elite offense. Florida doesn't have an elite offense. So that's the thing too. It's going to be very interesting. And yes, hey man, I am here to be unbiased and give facts and and if they're not facts, then opinions that have facts behind them. But it's going to be interesting because that very good point by Dan. Also, maybe Arkansas. I'm going to be honest. What I saw from Taylor Green, I was highly disappointed. I actually bet on Arkansas in that game, and he was very inaccurate. Made some mistakes with the football. So I don't know, and that's the thing too. I don't know how good A&M's defense is because when I looked at the stats of them when we broke out down Arkansas and A&M on the SEC channel, they don't really look good defensively. So I think our defense is just as good as A&M. So I'm not really worried about Arkansas. I am worried about Georgia. Georgia is the one that worries me. I will say this though, Alabama's secondary, I do think that is the one portion I am confident in that they're better, or that Texas secondary is better than Alabama's. That is the weakness of Alabama's defense. I think front seven wise, I think I think Anthony Hill would be the best linebacker of the group, but you guys have two of them, Jahad Campbell and Deontay Lawson. So I would take those two over David Benda, honestly. And then on the defensive line, I can't believe I'm going to say that. I think Colin Simmons is the best defensive lineman between the two groups. But secondary, I would take us. So it's going to be interesting. It really is. Not many questions have been answered for me about my team. The only questions that have been answered are Jahdae Barron has moved very well to outside cornerback. He's played phenomenal. Quinn Ewers took that next step. Now he just needs to stay healthy. And then our wide receivers aren't as talented as last year, but we have a deeper wide receiver room. So it's going to be very interesting. Are you saying that if Texas faced Ohio State or Alabama, you think Texas will lose? I'm sure those games would be hard to predict. I'm saying if we played them back to back in the college football playoff, I think there's a better than 50% chance we lose. And then if you add Tennessee into that, my death road for Texas would be Tennessee somehow. I don't think maybe it could happen. There might be a scenario out there, but play Alabama in the first playoff game, play or Ohio State or Tennessee, and then play the other two back-to-back after that. So basically playing those three in a row, we're not going to win a national championship. I don't think that's possible at this point. I don't see that happening. Someone would have to fall off a cliff to do that. One of the four teams, Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, or Tennessee. Those are the only teams, honestly, that scare me right now. Like, I watched Oregon versus UCLA. What the absolute hell was that? Oregon is not that good. Dylan Gabriel is an overrated quarterback. I've said that for a very long time. He is good, and he is good compared to the quarterbacks that there are this year. If you put Dylan Gabriel into last year, he is just another guy. Like, he's not Michael Penix. He's not Caleb Williams. He's not Drake May. He's not Shedeur Sanders. He's not any of those guys. He's just not. Simmons and Vosick should both be in the game on obvious passing downs. Dan, yes, they should. And you saw that. By the way, you saw that. They did that on obvious passing situations. You saw Simmons and Vosick in the game because the staff realizes those are our best two pure pass rushers. People give Barron Sorrell crap. He's not great against the passing because he doesn't really get to the quarterback. He's a phenomenal weak side run defender. Phenomenal. He will get drafted in the first 4 rounds by the way, because he's a really good run defender. Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I haven't seen you in the comments, and I always appreciate you calling in and talking with Mark and those guys. And guys, I think we're going to try to do a call-in show next week for the Oklahoma game. I may try to get an Oklahoma guest on as well. I'd love to do that, so it's going to be interesting. So I do want to get to our stopping the run on the defensive side of the ball, because that I was wrong on. We're actually good enough there, and I will show that with stats. So going back to Ohio State again. Ohio State as a team they only gave up 3.9 yards per carry. Alabama as a team in 2015 only gave up 2.4 yards per carry. Clemson as a team only gave up 3.7 yards per carry in 16. 2017 Alabama, this is elite number right here. Anything below 3 is elite. 2017 averaged 2.8 yards per carry given up. 2018 Clemson, again, another elite defense, 2.7 yards per carry given up. 2019 LSU, but again, they are carried by their offense. They don't need an elite run defense. They need a good enough run defense. That's what they got, 3.8 yards per carry. 20 Bama, same thing as LSU, but a little bit better, 3.3 yards per carry. 21 and 22 Georgia, elite, 2.6 yards per carry and 2.9 yards per carry in back-to-back national championship years. And Michigan, 3.0 yards per carry. I went into this thinking I went into this before the year thinking Texas needed to do what they did 2 years ago. It is outlandish to think Texas was going to do what they did last year against the run, which was like 2.8 yards per carry. You had the Outland Award Trophy winner, and you had a guy in Byron Murphy that's doing very well in the NFL already, and a guy that I think is like Chris Jones coming out. Like, he's phenomenal, guys. So it was dumb to think we were going to be at that number. I believe 2 years ago we were I think we were at like 3.5 or 6, and I said we need to be at that number. Because that had Keandre Coburn and Mora Ojimo, both NFL players, but both low-level draft picks. And you have Alfred Collins at the defensive tackle position, who will be like a 3rd or 4th round pick. And then Vernon Broughton has played himself into probably a 5th or 6th round pick. So you actually have better players than 2 years ago, and it's proven. So on average, with the run defenses, those teams only gave up 3.11 yards per carry. Texas gives up 3.2. That is good enough. You keep that, you can win a national championship, period. And we've actually gone against teams that really haven't tried to pass versus us. They've wanted to run the football. Michigan wanted to run the football. UTSA wanted to run the football. Mississippi State definitely wanted to run the football. The first 8 or 9 plays of the game versus Mississippi State were runs. So this team, actually, I was wrong. I will admit it. Post-game show, I was too emotional about that. This team can win a national championship with this run defense. The running game on the other side, like we just talked about, is a whole nother thing. But with this run defense can win a national championship. So I was wrong on that. And guys, I will be here to tell you when I'm wrong, and I will be here to tell you when I'm right. I was wrong on that, or wrong on this. I was right on the other one. So 50%. I'm going to be honest, I usually bat around 65, 70. So I'm a little bit angry with the 50%. But that is my analysis of those two things. The running game, that is what is holding us back. It needs to be worked on, and it doesn't need to be a lot better. In my opinion, if Jane Blue can get up to 5.1 or 2 yards per carry, and this team as a whole can be at 5.1 or 2 yards per carry, they can win a national championship. But we'll see. We'll see if it happens. One more question. Tua. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm a believer in Kenny Baker. I am as well. He is recruiting better than Bo Davis. He also, out of the horse's mouth, guys, Vernon Broughton said he's a better tactician. So he's better at actually teaching the position, and he's a better recruiter. Sign me up. I'll take it all day, every day. He's done a really good job with the recruiting, by the way, and we'll jump into that after this and talk about the recruiting, because the recruiting has been doing very well, guys. Obviously a top 5 class in the country with 20 commits, and hopefully only going higher from here. But again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps out the channel. This is the 23rd edition of Texas Longhorns Live. I really appreciate you guys being here. Also, Jackson dropped the Amazon link. Go over there, hit it, use it to shop. Amazon Prime Day, the second one, they do 2 a year, is coming up. It doesn't give you a discount or anything, but it puts a little bit of change into Mark's pocket, takes a little bit out of Amazon's pocket. So please do that. Also, if you don't want to look at my face, but you do want to hear me talk, you can catch me on your favorite audio platform, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, any of them. Please go over there and find me there. Just type in the Voice of College Football Texas. And also check out the Mark Rogers Show. I guess it's Monday through Wednesday now at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So please go over there and subscribe to Mark's channel and what we're trying to grow there, guys. I really appreciate it. I really respect you guys doing that. And I really appreciate you guys being here. So please hit that like button and subscribe down below. Man, it's been a rough Monday. I am slurring. And no, I haven't been drinking. I wish I'd been drinking, but I haven't been drinking. And I don't drink, by the way. So I'll never be here slurring because of that. We already went through these. Tell your friends, your family. Yes. Please do that, because guys, we're going actually pretty well. I've been pretty happy. We've been putting more work into the channel the last 6 months. We've been getting about 100 subscribers a month. We gained like 50 this week, or in the last week and a half. So please go over there and subscribe. My personal goal is 3,200 subscribers by the end of the season. That's about 400 more. So please go over there and do that as well. And also, like Jackson said, go over there and check me out on X. Michael, thank you for being here. Hook 'em, brother. I really appreciate it. Please hit that like button and subscribe down below. Let's get into recruiting, guys. It's been a fun time recruiting and talking recruiting with you guys, and you guys love the recruiting updates. So let's talk about it, because the next couple weeks are going to be huge for Texas recruiting. And Sark has talked about this. It's nice to go out and recruit as the number 1 team in the country, now the number 2 team, but it's got a lot of momentum behind it. A lot of boosters are starting to get re-engaged with recruiting and put in a little bit more money, so it helps out as well. Let's talk about this. 4-star wide receiver Kelshawn Johnson is going to visit for the Georgia game. Guys, the Georgia game is going to be the biggest recruiting weekend in 15 years for Texas. You're going to have 40 to 50 guys, 2025, 26, and 27 coming for that game, as they should. They showed what is happening that weekend. You have an Eminem concert. You have the F1 race. I think you have a Lady Gaga concert. You have the Texas game. That is going to be an insane weekend just for the city of Austin. Texas needs to win that football game. It's very important to win that game, not just for this year, but setting yourself up for success in the years to come. So, again, Kelshawn Johnson coming in for that game. He fits into this offense very well. Speedster, 5'11", 160 pounds. Not a big guy at all, but those are basically Xavier Worthy measurements. We already have a possession type guy in Jamie French, and he can do a little bit of do a little bit of everything. Khaleke Lockett, on the other hand, is your go up and get it wide receiver on the outside. So Kelshawn Johnson melts into this offense beautifully because you have those two. You'd have him. You'd have Ryan Wingo back. You might have Matthew Golden back. I mean, this wide receiver room would be insane with Kelshawn Johnson. So the 4-star from Texas, let's see if we can flip him because he is currently committed to Texas A&M. If I had to put a percentage of him flipping from Texas A&M, I think it's coin flip. I really believe that at this point. The way A&M runs their offense, the way Texas runs their offense, and the amount of talent we are going to lose to the NFL, there is room for this guy to come in, get some early playing time, not as much as he would at Texas A&M, but also elevate his draft stock-wise here. Texas A&M is yet to do that for a wide receiver. I don't think they're going to do that in the new offense for a wide receiver. Next up, Chase Sims, 6'2.5", 305 pounds, 3-star defensive lineman from Texas, also committed to A&M. Again, with this recruitment, can he get over the fact that Texas pursued other guys while he was interested? I do not know. I know that can be hard for some people. I completely understand it. Imagine you're up for a job and they said, we're not interested 3 or 4 times because they were looking at other people. Those people turned them down, and then all of a sudden they push all their interest into you. It's hard for your ego to get over that. We'll see if he's able to do that. He's also a legacy commit, so I think that does help a little bit because his dad may be pushing him towards Texas, and he did like Texas from the beginning. But again, can he get over that? That is a question. I'd love to have him in this class. Another Texas A&M guy who honestly has kind of been new. I have yet to hear this, but it is a thing now. 4-star cornerback, Kobe Sellers, who's committed to Texas A&M, 5'11.5", 175 pounds, has talks to Texas multiple times per week. If there is one portion of recruiting which we have not been doing well on, it's defensive back. We lost Aiden Anning to LSU. We lost Cade Phillips to LSU. We don't really have anyone other than Caleb Chester at the cornerback position. Now, do we need people right now at the cornerback position? You're still going to have Manny Muhammad. You're going to have Wardell Mack. You're going to have Kobe Black. You're going to have Warren Roberson, who apparently has been a stud since he stepped on campus. He's doing very well. I do not know if we need a cornerback. Do I want a cornerback? Absolutely, I do. I think it's great to stack great classes, and this is a great player, so I'd love to have him. Very small chance right now, guys. Unless this guy visits, I'm not going to put too much stock into it. And he does not have a visit yet, but he is talking to Texas multiple times a week, and we know how this staff is. They will recruit through the finish line. Kevin Wynn, we know this guy wants to be a culinary chef, came to Texas to visited multiple restaurants in the area. He seemed to like Texas. The problem was his family did not make the visit with him. The family has to make the visit. There's very few guys like a Smith or Rogbo where the family doesn't make the visit and he commits to Texas. You got to get him on campus. You got to get him to his family on campus, and you got to try to pitch him hard and get him to commit that day. Georgia still interested. Obviously, he's committed to Florida State right now. South Carolina is also interested, and I think they're in for a pretty damn good year. So it's going to be very interesting how this recruitment plays out. But those are the 4 schools, obviously, Georgia, South Carolina, Texas, and Florida State, that you got to keep an eye on. Again, the 4-star defensive lineman, 6'2", 320, out of Georgia. So it'd be kind of cool if we could pry him away out of Georgia. Javion Hilson, a guy that decommitted about month and a half, 2 months ago from Florida State. I thought he was going to be coming to Texas pretty soon, yet to commit to Texas. I'm not going to read too hard into that. He does want to take 4 or 5 visits to 4 or 5 different schools. He said that. I think it was Texas, Georgia, and I forget the other. I think one of them was Alabama. I forget the other 2 or 3 that he wants to visit. He was going to visit for the Mississippi State game, but because of the hurricane, and obviously he is from Florida, he had to reschedule, and he rescheduled, honestly, for a better weekend. I actually like this visit better. I think there's a chance if Texas wins this game that he commits this weekend versus Georgia. I will have that video up and ready for you guys if he does do that, so please hit that like and subscribe button. Again, a hell of a weekend, because this next guy is also coming for Georgia. Walter Mathis Jr., 6'3", 285, committed to LSU, the defensive lineman. He's only a 3-star, but he plays better than that. There's a couple guys on this list that will rise up. I think there's a good chance this guy rises up. LSU, I will say, just had their best weekend as a defense versus South Alabama. I think they're actually better without Harold Perkins. I think Harold Perkins is a very good individual defender, but I think he's very specific, and they kind of got caught up in the details of trying to get him involved in the game plan, whereas just game planning for your whole team. And I think they actually became better as a total defense without him. So that may actually bode well for recruiting guys like this, because you'll look better. So it may have hurt Texas, actually, that Harold Perkins got hurt. And obviously, I would never root for an injury anyways. Zion Williams, to me, this is the guy with the highest upside of any defensive lineman we'll talk about today. 6'4", 295 pounds. They want to get him on campus. He has yet to come to campus. He, I believe, committed July 4th to LSU, and Texas was begging him to get on campus. I think if we get him on campus, we have a shot. I don't know if we're going to be able to get him, guys. It's going to be very iffy and questionable. He's only a 3-star right now. I do not care. I think he has the highest upside of anyone that I'm going to name on this board for the defensive line. And I think it'd be a very big deal if we could get him on campus, and it'd obviously be a gigantic deal if we could get him to flip. So watch out for Zion Williams. 4-star Lamont Rogers, who is currently committed to Missouri out of Texas, 6'6.5", 311 pounds. He is currently communicating with Texas. They're trying to get him on campus again. We'll see if they're able to do that. Root against Mizzou. I think Mizzou starts to go downhill, like I think there's a possibility they can do. Then I think Texas would be in the driver's seat here, because they are the program that has been consistent with their communication with Lamont Rogers. Is he as good as Michael Fasuzi? I don't think so. But if we got him, that'd be a hell of a get, because guess what, guys? 4 out of our 5 offensive linemen are going to go to the NFL. There's no doubt in my mind with that this year. And then maybe 5 out of 5 we'll see, but the right guard position with Cole Hudson and DJ Campbell has not been playing well this year, so both of them may stay. We'll have to see, but it's paramount that you get someone like this. You need an offensive lineman in this class. Next year is going to be even bigger for that, the 2026 class, but I'd love to get a Lamont Rogers in this class. And then the big guy, 4-star athlete Michael Terry. He's 5 stars on about every service other than like 1 or 2, which is bringing him down as a 4-star on 247 composite. If he gets flipped on one side up to a 5-star, he'll be a 5-star everywhere basically, and he'll be a 5-star on 247 composite, which to me matters the most. Texas is going to continue to pitch him as a weapon, whether that be running back, whether that be wide receiver, whether that be tight end, whether that be H-back. They want him to play every position, period. Oregon is pitching him at running back, which is weird to me. I think that's honestly his worst position. And then Nebraska is pitching him at wide receiver, which he wants to play the most. It's going to come down to that, guys. I think the money's going to be about even. I think it's going to come down to, do I trust Sark and just want to be used as a weapon? Do I go to Oregon and become a running back, or do I go to Nebraska and become a wide receiver? To me, I don't understand why you wouldn't go to Texas and just be used as an all-around weapon. First off, you're going to be in Steve Sarkisian's game plan, getting great opportunities no matter where you're lined up. And also, he's still going to use you at wide receiver where you want to be used. He's just going to also use you in other ways that will get you the ball. So it doesn't make much sense to me why you wouldn't choose Texas there. And he's took his senior year picture with Texas gloves on. So I think he's going to go to Texas, but who knows at this point. Dorian Brew, they are trying to get him for a visit, the 4-star cornerback that is currently committed to Oregon. Remember, Oregon and Ohio State were the favorites. I thought Ohio State was the favorite, and then Oregon came out of nowhere and got him. Again, got to get him on campus for this to become real. We do need a cornerback in this class. Like I said, is it the number 1 position we need? No, I think if we're ranking, I would like to get another linebacker and another offensive lineman. But it'd be nice to get another cornerback in this class, even with what we're going to have coming back next year. And he fits the build for that. 4-star linebacker Madden Faramo. Like I said, I think USC has taken the lead here slightly. I still think Texas is going to try to get him on for a visit, and they desperately need to if they want to close him. I don't think Notre Dame's in the fold anymore. I think it's going to be USC or Texas. I'd be surprised, actually, at this point if it is Notre Dame. I think he'd be awesome for the SEC in the way how we play. He'd be the thumping linebacker while we have the other guys running sideline to the sideline. It'd be really awesome to see him in this linebacker room with Johnny Nansen coaching him. They do have a good relationship. We'll see if that pays off. But I think as USC gets better and better, it's going to be hard to turn down and stay out there on the West Coast. Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng, John, you know the name if you're still in there. He is scheduled for Texas October 19th for Georgia. I think this is a guy that is trending hard right now to Texas. I think Texas has the best shot to get him. I think Michigan is second for me right now. Ohio State third. Miami's going to play a role, as they always do, being a big NIL program. I would love to get this guy. I'd like to get one more linebacker in this class. I would take either one of Matt Framo or Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng. I honestly think both are takes. So if one of them says yes, they're not going to turn down the other one. And it's going to be interesting how that visit goes on October 19th. They kind of got on this late, guys. Johnny Nansen and Kenny Baker really liked his tape, so they offered him. And then a guy that I didn't think was possible, but he is going to visit, and that means it's possible. Naeem Offord, who is committed to Ohio State, a top 10 prospect in the 2025 class. I believe he's the first or second highest cornerback in the class. 6'1", 185, good physicality, good athleticism, long arms. Just the way he looks, guys, that's why he's at least a 4-star. And then the way he plays bumps him up to a 5-star. I would, out of every defensive back, I want this guy. Now, do I think they have the best chance? No, I think the best chance is with Kobe Sellers. If we're going to rank it, I'd go Kobe Sellers, Naeem Offord second, Dorian Brew third. I think Dorian Brew is the least likely because he's yet to plan a visit. I'm only saying Kobe Sellers is first because if you're talking to his staff multiple times a week, I think that means he's going to take a visit at some point. But getting Naeem Offord on campus is a big deal, and it's going to be very interesting if they're able to sway him away from Ohio State. Devin Sanchez, I know that has been floated. I've yet to hear anything about that. I don't think that's going to happen. I was shocked when I read Naeem Offord could be coming to Texas. So there it is right there. That is the recruiting update. Again, guys, I really appreciate you guys being here for the 23rd edition of Texas Longhorns here live. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Really helps out the channel. The Michigan and Texas shows are first rate. I appreciate that, Adam. And the Alabama show is great. Yes, it is. All the shows here. I think Corey does a really good job with the Iowa show. USC show does a very good job with Tim as well. Get to catch bombs from Arch. Yeah, I think that should be a ginormous selling point, honestly, because NIL along with that, unlimited potential, unlimited possibilities, along with catching passes from a guy that's going to be a first-round pick. I'm already going to say that. Arch Manning's going to be a first-round pick. Would love to flip Brew, Pettijohn, Wynn, Sims, Fasusi, and get Terry to wrap up and have a top 2 class. Honestly, if you did all that, you probably have the number 1 class in the country, Dan. I think you'd end up with the number 1 class. Out of those guys you mentioned, I think Pettijohn, Wynn, Sims, and Terry are the big. I don't see Brew or Fasusi. I just don't see it at this point. Could that change? Absolutely. Even Pettijohn, I'm being kind with. I don't even think he's scheduled for his visit, so it'd be hard to pull him away from Ohio State. I could definitely see Kevin Wynn and Sims for sure, though. Those would be the 2 I'm most confident out of the guys you mentioned there. Honestly, out of the guys here, I think we could flip all 3 guys from Texas A&M, which would be hilarious, and Kelshawn Johnson, Chase Sims, and Kobe Sellers. I think that's a real possibility. I think Javion Hilson's going to end up at Texas. I've already made a thumbnail for him at Texas, so to be ready for that. Now, that would suck if he doesn't come to Texas, but it is there if we need it. Again, guys, this has been the 23rd edition. We might try a call-in show next week. I will think about it. I will let you know. If you guys would want that, please leave that in the comments and the comments of this video, and I will decide. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It has been an awesome time with you guys. I highly appreciate it. No predictions this week because it is a bye week. But then guess what? Red River. And I'm going to try to get a good guess for Red River. We'll see what happens. That's all I'm going to say. Hook 'em, guys. Thank you for being here.